Hey, Ruby. How are you today? I'm doing good. Hey, babe. How are you guys doing? Almost beat you. Yeah, we're gonna be, hopefully it, just took a different kind of test. Well, if it's from what happened Monday, I could see, I don't know you. Oh my gosh. Okay, why is this thread randomly deciding it wants to not? Is it a yes or a no, Sam? She's stuck. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Well then. Yeah. Girl. I swear I warned you about this like months ago. Just like a random thing. I can't remember what I was saying, but I think I said something like a while ago. But what I'm gonna do today for you guys is we're just gonna be reading some charts, unless you guys have a very specific aspect you guys want to look at. We can do that because next week we're gonna go over the Sagittarius eclipse. So this week is more about what you guys want to do with your charts, or if there's just certain like aspects you want to learn about, we can like pull up like, hey, I don't understand this certain thing in my chart, and we can pull up and look at it and learn from it. Interrupt my killing of zombies. Okay, hun. Take care of yourself, and hopefully it comes back negative. But yes, if you guys don't know your chart, then, I mean, we can learn by looking together if you're comfortable with that. If you know and you're just really confused about something right now, maybe you're confused about a transit, whatever it is, we can pull it up, we can look at it, and we can all learn some stuff today. This will just be our learning day today instead of like a heavy thing like last week. This is our week in between heavy stuff, ironically, with this energy. Really, Owen, you want to do a history chart? Down to learn whatever. I think you need to get your mind off of some synastry right now with all the readings you've been getting lately. Unless you're wanting to learn about synastry charts, because I can tell you guys the way that my mind reads synastry charts is I read it just like transit charts, except I make it as an intrapersonal connection as opposed to um, like a collective planetary energy. Okay, so I can actually use my chart up here to show you what bending the nodes means. Because you see my nodes right here, 9 degrees Aquarius, so my other one would be in my first house at 9 degrees Leo. So technically my north and south node line would go around here, right? So with the nodes, different astrologers have different opinions. Some do a very wide degree between 10 and 15 degrees when it comes to bending the nodes. Um, but I actually have a pretty close bend right here. What you want to look for is the signs that are your access points. Access, not access, but axis. Because, say you have your nodes, like I do, in South Node Leo, North Node Aquarius, what signs would bend my nodes if I had planets would be Taurus and Scorpio. Because those are the cutting axis, just like if you want to learn opposites, look at your ascendant and your descendant, because what your IC and MC is always going to be opposite axis signs. So how this is Cancer and this is Capricorn, the opposite ones would be Libra and Aries, just the same way my Leo and Aquarius, the opposite is Taurus and Scorpio, and it just goes around like that. So once you kind of understand what signs will bend your nodes, that's kind of where you want to start. So since I know with mine what bends my nodes is Taurus and Scorpio, I go and look and see, okay, I got 9 degrees, and this is 16, this is 15, my Lilith is also 14, this is close to 9 degrees, so all three of these actually bend my nodes. And so does my Venus. So make sure like you don't forget something off over here, because this is close to 9 degrees as well. So my Venus, my Mercury, my Lilith, and my Pluto all bend my nodes. Yes, that's what forms the T-square. So whenever someone is saying like the bending of the nodes, it's basically just a T-square. It's all it is. It's an exact one. It's not like kind of an off one, like we get squares that, like this over here is a square like from the Aries to the Capricorn energy. Like this is a little square over here. We want an actual like straight down kind of square, not like an off to the side square. So that's why it's called T-square when you actually have a bending of the nodes. So there's a lot of interpretations that go around what bending the nodes mean, because if you think about it, the south node represents our past talents, past lives, karma, um, kind of like what we bring into this life naturally. It also deals a lot with, what we pull out naturally in our soul. The same thing with our IC, except it's more of a very spiritual energy. Now, when we go to our north node, we know that energy is very heavy. It's really trying to pull us into doing something. It's like propelling us into something that's uncomfortable that we're trying to learn. And as we learn it, sometimes it can get very overwhelming. That's why it's really important to be strong in your south node energy. And sometimes it's hard for us to learn that depending on where our nodes are. Mine sits in my first house, and it's the only thing in my first house. So it's like, to me, it's almost like having a second ascendant, because people really see me different ways. Even though I have a Cancer ascendant, some people really see me as having like this out front, very outgoing personality of Leo, because I have my south node there and it's also in my first house. So it's kind of putting that projection up that I have Leo energy, even though it kind of mixes with the Cancer, and it's like, well, she's outgoing and nurturing and introverted, and it's like that ambivert kind of energy. So it's really tug of war with that, because it's in my first. But you have to kind of see where your south node is to understand where that's pulling out that energy. Now, with Aquarius energy, it's like, instead of it being the person, it's being the community, it's being humanity. So what's very weird for me, probably because I have these T-squares, it can make things come out differently. For me, I was always more about community than I was about myself. But if you look at the planets that I have actually forming these T-squares to my nodes, I have communication in my 11th house. So that's already that house of humanity and networking and everything. My way of communicating is in that house, and it's squaring my nodes. So it's like I'm already feeling like I got to communicate very stubbornly on this type of level, even though like my energy that I should understand already is the Leo energy of being about the self. And but I do have that really generous nature that often gets taken advantage of. But that also comes with the fact that I have the Venus in the 10th house, and anytime I'm doing a type of work, I'm very giving in work relationships, but I'm also giving to anyone I make connections with. When it comes to this, like, I'm pretty sure you guys can see it in what I do. I just love being able to help people. I love spreading knowledge. I love the groundedness. It like grounds me to do these types of things. So that squaring my nodes too is almost like, I'm doing this humanitarian thing without being in this energy. It's just a grounding energy for me. But it gets a little hard because having this Pluto Scorpio energy squaring off with my nodes, it's like I'm constantly having to go through tons of transformations to learn how to work through my nodes. It's like a constant phoenix rising all the time with my nodes, and it comes straight from creation because it's in my 5th house. So my creations literally come from all of these transformations, and it puts me like literally back and forth in learning the energies. I'm either learning one energy or the other. It's not like this, it's like I crave balance because my IC is Libra, like my soul wants the balance. But I'm always being pushed into either being more of the self or being more of humanity constantly. So, plus my Lilith there is bringing out that raw energy, squaring it off too. So, I can get very raw when I'm having to express this deep down soul need for balance, which I think you guys have heard in my rants sometimes when I feel things just are not fair, it's not right, and things like need to be fixed, and I go off on those tangents. That's like a deep down, raw, instinctual thing that I do. It's not like this energy I necessarily have a lot of control over, because it's literally like my soul's coming out and wants to speak right now. But another interesting thing, though, that I really like to look at when looking at the nodes is the nodes can also help determine certain gifts that we have. Because, since the South Node talks about gifts, and then, we're going into this North Node energy where we learn even more, you can pick up on hidden talents, you can pick up on if you have very prominent spiritual gifts. Um, you can actually have a further understanding of certain gifts and how to use them to understand these energies as well. So, like, since we're already talking about how, like, my nodes work this way, let's go ahead and go on the spiritual aspect of it, right? So, with communication, we already know that I am a grounded channel for this crap. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. It's like, I have to be very grounded, and it just, like, I communicate it because it's squaring off my nose. Like, I'm always saying take care of yourself and the self-care aspect, but also this humanity thing. Like, the collective and the personal comes out for me constantly, because I need to balance it for people when it's coming down with the messages. Like, it needs to be grounded. I'm always telling people they need to be freaking grounded when dealing with this energy, because that's literally, and plus you can also see with it being in Taurus that I can have very physical ways I communicate with people, like in person, easily can do the telepathy thing. It's really weird. But also with relationships. Now, having a Venus, having the square to the nodes, this is something that, because you have to realize people can abuse power too, and you have to understand this in yourself, especially having Venus and Mercury squaring the nodes. Someone that has this can easily be extremely good with manipulating conversations, manipulating relationships, making people feel safe with what they're doing, and it's almost like an actual talent. Now, you can use this to help people, or you can use this to harm people, and it's really easy to abuse this energy. So, one thing, always, always be honest with yourself about what you're doing and realize what you're doing. Or understand that if you learn about someone and they have this, watch out for their traits and see kind of where they're falling on that line. Because we can all slip up and do things that aren't okay. But if someone is intentionally repeating a pattern like that and they have those tendencies and they're very, like, good at it, like, it scares me sometimes, like, how what I say can change a room, which is why I'm very careful with what I say, and I'm always saying I'm not trying to tell people what to do, like, because I know this is my opinion. So, as much as I want to give advice, I'm not going to tell people how to live their life. I'm like, if you want a certain outcome, you got to do a certain thing. I'm not going to say, like, I could easily be going off into a thing and telling people, like, you need to, like, give me money to make this work. Like, hey, I got a setup for that. I don't want to do that. Like, it's like I can easily play the victim card, I can do all kinds of stuff, but I'm not doing that because that's like the very greedy side of that energy, and I'm just not okay with it. But that's me personally. Anyone else that has these placements, it would be a personal choice what they're going to do with it. Now, say this Pluto energy right here and Lilith, they're both conjunct squaring my nodes. The fifth house one is like a natural talent in creating from darkness, basically, creating from transformation. It's like, it's why I'm into so much art. It's why I write so much, especially having Mercury being in this T-square on the opposite side. It's like bringing out the writing, it brings out the speaking, and it makes it to where things have to be very creative and very fluid. It's a natural thing for me to do this. It's a natural gift. but it's not like I'm necessarily going around spouting it off, because with my Pluto retrograde naturally in my natal chart, I internalize it a lot and don't speak about it. And when it comes out, it's like I don't like taking kudos for it, I guess you could say, because it's almost like it feels wrong, even though like it it's a part of me. It's like a natural part of me. It's like learning to have that Leo confidence and say, hey, I did this, it's a good thing, like I should be proud of myself, and getting like that kind of thing. That's what they're trying to teach me. And then having Lilith in my fourth, it's like literally like screaming this deep down like feminine energy, like being in it, balancing in it, and understanding how to bring that up to help other people. And that's what makes magnetism, like natural magnetism, because feminine energy is literally, it pulls to you instead of you having to push out and find it. And even though my MC is Aries, it's like, yes, I have the drive to go after what I want to do, but at the same time, the way I get there is by leaning more into the natural gifts as opposed to jumping in that energy. It's like, yeah, put myself out there, but then allow things to happen, which is really hard for me because I got tons of freaking Capricorn placements and aspects and stuff. So it's been a really hard lesson to learn that. But that's kind of like a synopsis, a really small, like I can go way into detail with the nodes and stuff, but that's kind of like a synopsis of how the nodes kind of work, how you can look at your planets, kind of pull off of their energies, understand like the orb, like the degrees that hit them, and then understanding the signs and the access points. And then with Ruby, yeah, exactly, Ruby. Because another thing I also want to say is a lot of times there are so many connections in charts, because what's really interesting, like I was telling you, like with the telepathy thing, I have a 2-degree Venus, and in relationships, like 2 is like the moon energy, it is intuition, being able to pick up on emotions. That makes me like a very natural empath in any relationships I have with anyone. And it, since it's squaring my nodes, it's like expanded upon. And it's something that I had to learn boundaries with, because it was really hard and I had to understand that. But every degree, if you look at it in your chart and you use numerology to kind of break it down, it will show you an energy that you are working with. Like my nodes are a 9, it's a very spiritual energy. It's the same with my MC and IC. It's a 9-degree. It's a very spiritual energy. Even though I don't have anything in Pisces, my 9th house is ruled by Pisces, which is a spiritual energy. It's like I have a lot of things to where it's very spiritual if you look at different aspects, but if you were just to stare at it and be like, I don't really see that much here that seems that, like you got a lot of earth signs, I don't really like see it that way. But if you start breaking it down and looking at the different houses, even with Gemini ruling the 12th, Gemini's communication, it's the way, like it ties it back to the Mercury as well. And this whole energy of the 12th house is hidden talents, which is literally telling me your hidden talents are in this communication, it's in working with your hands, it's in knowing how to network with people. It's like trying to tell me what the hidden talents are without, like, you can probably do that with your own chart too, because even though we have these things that are hidden from us, if you look at the sign it's in and how it connects to other places, you can kind of be like, okay, that's how I'm going to be able to understand this. It's the same for interceptions when we have hard aspects. Like, it's a lot of the same type of energy where as long as you can kind of see the connect the dots, even with the numbers, like you can look at the second house And my Venus is at a 2 degree. I had a lot of issues with relationships creating my value, and I had literally a mom that thought she was freaking Aphrodite. So it's it's like the irony of that, right? But at the same time, it's like I created a vision that she was a very nurturing person. All the people that I thought were very nurturing people, like I put a lot of my own self-value in, and that's what I created value around. So if you were to look around your chart and see different numbers, like how I have my Mars at 1 degree, if we look at the first house, it's like, well, once again, it's like I'm supposed to be some kind of go-getter, but my thing's in freaking Cancer, and everyone's always thinking I'm outgoing. Everyone's thinking that it's like I have this drive, which I do have a drive once I start it, and I really jump into it, and I keep going to my own detriment, and it's bad for my health. But it's like I had to learn balance and understand, like, until it clicked with me that my sixth house is actually Sagittarius, and I'm not supposed to have these crazy routines that all my earths is screaming at me for to have in my chart, that it's like if I just kind of went with the flow a little more, my health would get better. Like, this is the first time I'm actually starting to get better health wise, even though this is probably the worst off I've been after going through things. But it's a very weird irony there because I'm starting to understand it. So that's another thing too. So I know I'm saying a lot of different aspects of this, but it's like when I look at charts, it's like so much jumps through my mind, and I might not say everything. Like I might not say that I'm looking at a number, connecting it to something else, and putting it in this kind of energy, but I'm just talking to you about what certain things do. That's what's going on in my mind, like very rapidly. Even though people say that the Taurus Mercury is supposed to be slow and blah blah blah, it's like with how my stuff is aspected, it actually makes it very quick and very cemented once it goes through my mind and once I have certain things that I understand. Yeah, that's everything is very connected. I mean, you can even connect tarot into astrology. Like, let's take how the magician is the one in tarot. And I have my one in Aries, but it's in my ninth house. It's in a very spiritual, higher learning house. That's very magician energy. And it's like my drive is towards magician type energy. It's towards creating. It's towards understanding things and being able to pull together ideas and create something new out of it. So it's like things can all connect. You can pull things together to understand things more. It's just realizing there are so many patterns and there's so many ways you can use things to understand yourself and dive deeper into things. It's just you don't want to do it crazy all at once because it'll become overwhelming. My mind is very weird. It loves being overwhelmed with energy and like just breaking down things. I probably have my Virgo moon to thank for that. But I just love analyzing tons of things at the same time and jumping around. But that's how my mind works. But I can still bring it out and talk about it and ground it to where other people can hopefully follow it. If you're not following it, you need to stop me and ask a question. Like, seriously. Because that's what this is for. I'm trying to help you guys with this. I want you to kind of get out of it. And that Virgo moon. But all of us are going to process things very differently. And our aspects and the way things are laid out and the degrees we have things in help that too. Because let's like break apart like how I've already talked about how my Mercury's up here. We already know it's doing like a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's in the 11th house, house of internet and everything. But another thing is if we look at the numerology of it, right? It's a 1 and a 6 and a 7 energy, because when you put 1 and 6 together, you get 7. So you have that all three of those energies working with Mercury, which The one energy, like I said before, is a very forward moving energy. It's like going, getting things done. It's that Aries type energy. And the 6 is Venus type energy. Even though I have like Venus right over there, it's like I have that energy again in my Mercury. I have this need to create beauty, this need to harmonize things, to bring relationships balance, and like all this kind of Libra type energy. But I also have it with this Taurus energy because my Mercury's actually in Taurus. So it's like I'm creating around me, like with the 5 senses, that type of beauty too. It's probably why I like playing music. I like having the pretty crystals for you guys. I love aesthetic. It's like I want to bring beauty to where I'm doing this. But then you got to look at the 1 and 6 together, which makes the 7. The 7 energy is very introspective. It's really the analyzing energy. It's not as spiritual as the 9, but it kind of has that hermit type energy. If you were to think of tarot, how you have to go in, do the introspection, you have to learn from it. And it's like I'm bringing that out and communicating it. I'm bringing out a lot of introspection and communicating it. And I have a very tight opposition between my Mercury, Pluto, and Lilith. So it's like I am always having a hard time doing it because I don't like doing it. In a way, it kind of repulses me a little bit to be completely open and vulnerable and bring out my depths in front of people. But it's like the more I do it, the better it is for other people, which literally is my north node. Is like, for the collective kind of energy. Like the more I bring out my stuff, the more it helps people. And it's like I have to work through it. So it's like putting all of those energies together can help you really understand different aspects in your chart too. Like just having that little tidbit with the numerology with it added a whole nother layer just looking at it, and it makes it make more sense because you can see, and then you can go, wait, if that connects to Venus energy, it also connects to my Venus. And that being in the 10th house, I bring that into my career. It's what helps me in my career is having that energy. So it's like being able to go around that and understanding that my moon, because 2 is the moon, also helps me in my career, and it's actually part of my grand earth trine that points to my Mercury. It's all very interconnected, and it goes into a very deep level, which helps you pull out so much information. That's why you can constantly learn from the same chart, because you can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into your natal chart. Like, it really doesn't stop. And then on top of that, you have to also look at, this is just your stationary natal chart. When you get into transits and things that are constantly changing and having effects on certain placements in your chart, making new aspects in your chart, it creates a whole nother flavor on top of your natal chart. And then if, like Owen was saying earlier, if you were to do a synastry chart, someone's energy intertwined with yours is going to create a different flavor. It's like there's so many different things that start adding together. And you can start seeing actual, well, at least I can. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but when I do synastry charts, I can actually see visualizations of how people are interacting with each other. Like if they're the ones that have the thing like, no, I'm fine, and like I can actually play out a scenario of someone saying things with exact words, and then people just kind of look at me like, how the hell? But it's like that kind of thing right there where it's like when I look at certain things, that's what I see. But like I said, we all have our certain gifts with things. Some people can probably write down things that will connect with millions of people, which we see that in artists, we see it in musicians, we see that in people that write books, like bestsellers and things. Like those are talents that like just connect to tons of people at once. But like I was saying, what is something else? Because we talked about the nodes and some numerology, unless you guys want me to talk some more about numerology too, because I mean, I love numerology also. And I use all of these things when I'm reading tarot as well. Like, I literally connect it back and forth. There's like no one way of using it. Like, I use it all over the place. Even when I'm doing actual numerology, I pull in energies that way too. The number 0 is the number of creation. So it isn't tied to a planet. It is tied to basically void type energy. It's like the energy that's sitting there and ready for things to be created in it and to come out of it. Think of it like the womb, and it's like harboring this energy. And it's a very potent energy. And when we're looking at things like, say we're looking at repeating numbers and things like that, if there's a 0 in it, it makes it that much more strong, because what's happening is it's amping up whatever energy is around it, because it's like, hey, we're creating even more of this energy. Let's give you an amplifier. Let's put a freaking squared or an umpteenth power on that, because we're going to add some, like, because even though 3 is a very creative number, 0 is creation. It's not just creativity. It's like a different type of energy. So that's why it's not actually tied to a planet. It's just tied to an actual energy. And if anything, it'd be kind of more of the feminine energy, like I was saying, like the womb, just having that darkness to create in. It's more of a feminine energy, like the 2 energy, which is tied with the high priestess, tied with the moon. It's like all those energies kind of going in together. And need a sip of my water. Well, of course. Did I overload you guys already? Because it seems like I don't know if you guys are like writing a note or what you're doing, because it seems like I got people falling quiet on me now after all my random ways my mind works over here. I mean, okay, I know my mind is weird for a few reasons. I actually have a very concrete example of how weird my mind is. I was taking very advanced math when I was going for my first degree that I had, which was teaching mathematics. And I can't remember which calculus it was. It was one of the higher calculus ones. It was before differentials though. But I was doing this test, and it's like there was a very specific way you could get this answer, and my brain just wasn't looking at it like that way. And I was like, but I know how to do this. And I kept staring at it. And then I just kind of went on this thing and started doing like all this crazy stuff with it. Like I said, it was very advanced math. And then I got the right answer. And literally, when I got the test back, the teacher circled it, saying, "You got the right answer, but what did you do?" Like, literally, she wrote, "What is this?" Like, on my paper. How did you do this? And she's like, "All you had to do was this. What is this?" It's like I wrote in another language on my paper and got like the answer. And she was just like beside herself. And she's been teaching for years, okay? So I know she's seen a lot of stuff. But for some reason, I'm going off on some tangent, doing all these different formulas and equations and coming up with the right answer when literally it was like a 4-step thing. In my brain, it was a 4-step thing because I never wrote out my work. But when I was doing all that mess, it might as well have been like freaking ancient hieroglyphs by like how in detail I went to get this simple answer. And then the next one, like, why is this next one so easy and that one was so complicated? Like, that was kind of ridiculous. But it's really like the mind interests me a lot just because I know how weird mine is. So that's why I love seeing how other people's minds work because everything, being able to relate to people in different ways really interests me. And that's why at first I was pursuing teaching. It wasn't necessarily it's like I like the aspect of teaching and people learning and all that stuff, but it was almost like the conformity of being in a school bugged the hell out of me, and I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't know why there were certain things I really didn't like, and I wasn't sure if it was what I was supposed to do. But it was like I loved learning and then I also loved teaching. So it was like a very weird thing to like be in that spot. But I think it was just literally like this Aquarius North Node saying, no, we're not going to be sitting in no damn school. That's not the energy that we're going for here. But it's like I went through a lot of different, which obviously Sagittarius ruling my 6th house. I went through a lot of different jobs, a lot of different learning, trying to understand this work type energy, a lot of different coworkers and things. So it was, and plus I actually moved a lot too. My routine was moving jobs, moving routines. I actually moved far across the country to actually start going in the right direction. So it's like a lot of that stuff really came in together. But like I said, I already know I have a weird mind that can wrap around a whole lot of stuff at one time and might run off and make people be like, what the fuck is she talking about? So that's why I'm saying, like, if there's something you don't understand or if you want me to break something down, I can break stuff down too. Like, I know I talk a certain way, but if, like, never feel like you can't stop me and say, hey, can you break this down, like, in another way? Because chances are I can probably break it down in, like, 15 ways. I just need you to tell me you need me to break it down for you, and then I'll go and do that. Because it's, I try in my mind, I like how my little bell goes off in my mind to make it digestible, to make it to where people can understand it. But I know sometimes I can go off on my own tangents and just be going into something, and people can be sitting there like, what the fuck is she on? I don't even know what's going on right now. So tell me, don't just let me go off. Like, tell me if there's something you want me to break down further. Let me know if there's something you're very interested in. Like, say you want to understand yachts, and you're like, what the fuck is a yacht? What does it even do for me? Like, do I have one? Like, that kind of thing. What makes one? Like, things like that. What makes a certain aspect? What makes up the energy of planets and numerology and ties it together? Like, this type of thing, I am perfectly fine with you guys asking like bare bones thing and breaking it down, because that's how other people learn too. Is because someone kind of stepped up and asked a question, because it's like, wait, I don't want to seem like I don't know things because no one else is saying anything. No, guys, there is definitely no stupid questions when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it is complicated and it's good to break it down. So with that being said, and you guys hearing my very weird math story, questions. I can even pull up a different chart for you guys too. mystic rectangles? Well, this is a mystic rectangle. I actually have quite a few of them. It's only showing one with this because all the aspects aren't up here. But mystic rectangles, for one, what they are made of. We'll talk about that first. Think of them as you need to have two elements that are going to form a sextile to each other in the 8-degree orb. So this is all dealing with 8-degree orbs or less when we're dealing with mystic rectangles. Now, if you look at mine, my sextile is between an earth and a water sign. Sextiles go between earth and water and air and fire because those are the complementary elements. Now, so the first thing you want to look for is a sextile that goes between complementary signs. Now, you want to have literally across from it a parallel sextile in the other signs. So you have, like I do, Cancer, Taurus, and then I have Capricorn, Scorpio, sextiles in both parallel to each other. Now, that automatically, if you have it like that, you're going to have trines. Now, what trines are is, once again, we're keeping the 8-degree orb or less, which the orb is the amount of degrees you can have either way from the original degree. Like if I was to have an 8-degree orb before the 16, it would be 8 is the cutoff, and after 16, 24 is the cutoff. So it's like anywhere in between there is 8-degree orbs. Now, the trines also have 8 degrees, like I was saying, but it goes to the same element. So with this one, it goes to my Capricorn. And since I already told you guys with the 16, the 8 is the cutoff and 24 is the cutoff. Both the 8 and the 14 are trines, even though they technically are a little out for making the mystic rectangle. Because with this 16 right here, you have to like kind of go around and see what actually fits into these. And this, actually, I think my aspects actually aren't sitting up there. Once again, I said I have multiple mystic rectangles, but all the aspects aren't showing. But the trines, like I was saying, the 8-degree orbs. So I have the trines coming this way, and then I also have trines, even though you can't see it, because like I said, aspect's not up there, with Chiron as well, because these are conjunct, going to my Pluto and my Lilith. That's not over here either. So there's another, like, 3 mystic rectangles. But this whole thing, trining the water and then trining the earth. Now, that's not everything, okay? That's just the rectangle itself. There is also hard aspects inside the rectangle. So it's not all like peachy cream, like you have like this beautiful blue box and like a bunch of good stuff sitting in your chart. If you have mystic rectangles, you also have oppositions. It's gonna happen. So the oppositions are literally going to create X's in between the mystic rectangles. Now, this creates the kind of push, pull, repulse, pulled towards kind of energy in between the opposing signs. So it's like you're working with all of this good sextile and trine energy, trying to understand the energies, but then you also have these challenges you gotta overcome with their opposing energies, like, you know, the ascendant energy that I have with Cancer and Capricorn, since it's part of my mystic rectangle. It's having to pull those energies and understand them and use them to work for me, because if I can't, it kind of makes the mystic rectangle fall flat. If I cannot incorporate these energies, it doesn't matter that I have a pretty multiple 4 or 5 boxes sitting in my chart. It does not matter at all. Because if I cannot overcome the challenges that come with having the oppositions, because I have another, like I said, it goes both ways, it's an X, the oppositions between my Taurus and Scorpio energy. That right there, if you cannot overcome the challenges, you're not going to get the blessings of the mystic rectangle that come from the good stuff. It's like you got to, it's just like everything else. You got to overcome the challenges or you don't get the good stuff. Now, if we were going to go into some energies here, do you guys have questions before I go into energies? Because as I was explaining, oppositions are the same thing with orbs as well. Because I'm using the actual terminology so you guys can hear the terminology as well, but I will explain any terminology as well as I'm going. Nah, go for it. She's like, I'm speaking for everybody. We're gonna go for it here. But so let's just look at these energies here. I have obviously mystic rectangles are either going to be feminine or they're going to be masculine, because having this earth water energy is a very feminine type energy, because we're dealing with kind of like moon, Venus, even though like Scorpio and Capricorn are in there, that's still like these earthy, watery type energies. It's like energies that kind of pull, sit, like it's very feminine. It's not like push forward, all like whirling around kind of thing. Because if you have a mystic rectangle that is fire and air, that's more of the masculine energy. It's a propelling energy. Instead of things coming to you, you're having to push yourself towards things. And that's what your challenges are. Instead of learning to kind of allow, you have to learn to push. So it's like a completely different energy. With me, I have multiple feminine mystic rectangle energies, and I've always been a pusher, which always made me sick. So learning, like I said, I had to learn how to work with this, because these energies actually make it to where I'm forced to let things happen. It's like a forced surrender. And especially since all of them are connected not only to my 12th house planets, because that's the house of surrender, guys. It's connected to Jupiter, which is conjunct Chiron. Okay, like this energy right here is like all about some expanding whatever it's sitting in, which is expanding the damn surrender over here. And then it's also expanding this energy of needing to heal. Heal, 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 but then having that really big issue with healing myself. So it expands that, and the only way to do it is to surrender it. So it's like literally this huge energy pulled into my rectangle of the only way this feminine energy is going to work is completely surrendering to it. And it's pulled into every one of the mystic rectangles, especially since they're very closely conjunct. So all of that, just talking about it, that's the 12th house having its fun in my mystic rectangles. Now, going up, the Mercury is a point. Look at, I'm telling you, every time I'm telling someone to surrender, I'm not saying it from this place of not knowing what it feels like to go through this shit, okay? Like, I literally get blessings from learning this. Because Jupiter's like, I will bless you if you learn this, okay? Like, literally, that's what I'm being told. I have to learn this and then I will get it. And it took me a very long time to get it, and I'm still kind of getting it. There's still some things I'm holding on to, and I know it and I'm very aware of it, but you have to work through it. Now, the next energy, which all of the mystic rectangles connect to, is my Mercury, which makes my Mercury very prominent. Now, this is something to understand in charts. When you have certain planets that are very heavily aspected, I just drank my water, but I should probably drink more. When you have planets that are very heavily aspected, like how all of my mystic rectangles hit my Mercury, my Earth Grand Trine hits my Mercury, pretty much every Earth planet I have trines my Mercury. Actually, every Earth planet I have trines my Mercury, because I told you guys that 8 degree and that 24 degree, like they're just in there trining my Mercury. So all of these energies are hitting my Mercury, and my Mercury's in the 11th house. So that's adding on this aspect that this communication needs to be put out, okay? Like, no matter what I do, I can't keep this communication to myself. I need to communicate and network with my communication. I need to have the friendships and camaraderie, but I have this really big repulsion to things that are not deep relationships, and it bugs me so bad, but I attract them. And that's why I have to learn to let go of that, and then the ones that actually are deep relationships come in. But anyways, getting ahead of myself there. But with this whole energy, since everything's hitting it, I have a very Mercury heavy chart. Like, it's very like Mercury type energy, especially since my moon, my emotions, and my intuition are sitting in a sign, Virgo, that is ruled by Mercury also. So there's so many things here, and my sun, Gemini, ruled by Mercury, which is part of my yod. There is so many things that bring Mercury energy into my chart, even though I do not have a lot of Gemini placements and I don't have a lot of Virgo placements. I still have so many heavily and prominent aspects with Mercury energy that it makes it a very heavy like energy. It's why the communication is the way it is. It's why my brain works the way it does. It's why things fly like they do for me. Even though, like I was saying, my chart ruler with my ascendant is Cancer, so technically my chart ruler is the moon, because your ascendant planet is your chart ruler. There is a difference between what your ruler of your chart is and what the heavy aspected planet is that gives you like this overall energy as well. Because since my ruler is the moon with this Cancer right here, it is this natural thing for intuition, for nurturing, for mothering. And then going to the moon, it's literally sitting in my sibling's house, which I was like my brother's mom. So this whole energy right here, I was my mom's mom basically too, so whatever the hell with that. But this right here is trying to pull in once again that my moon is connected to Mercury energy. My chart ruler is connected to Mercury energy. So all of it is very heavy in that. But you could have a sign. For heavily aspected planets, aspects are literally all the lines that you are seeing on this screen. It's green, it's blues, it's reds, it's whatever you see. Nightbot is losing its mind over here. But with this heavily, if you have anything in your chart that has multiple aspects, even if they're red lines, because my Mercury even has tons of red lines too. So it's like, but it's not as much as how everything else is connected to it. So it's like my mind helps me more than it hurts me, as long as I understand where my strengths are. Because obviously, even though I have heavily aspected Mercury, I'm still going to have like my own weaknesses. Everyone has that, and it's understanding them and building on those instead of just, neglecting them. And that's a big thing there, because I know a major thing, because it comes from literally, even though I have Mercury everywhere and I want to communicate, it's hard for me to want to publicly communicate my emotions, even though I have a Cancer rising. Like, I have a hard time allowing people to see that. Like, I am completely there for people to be a shoulder, to help them through issues. I can completely empathize with people, but I don't like putting my own things out in front of people. I tend to keep it really to me, unless people really know me and they're like, look, I know something's going on, and like, you need to talk about it because it's building. And it's like, I will sit there and internalize so many things. But I'm literally being pushed to learn how to communicate these things in the public. So it's like a process. Now, that goes for a lot of planets, but you can usually find the planet that is the most aspected in your chart fairly easily, because there's just going to be so much crap that is tied to it, like, at the same time that it's ridiculous. But that's usually the planet that kind of has that energy, the most heavily aspected planet. And chart ruler is also a very strong energy. Now, you can also have a heavily aspected sign. Now, the sign's energy, especially with where the sign is, it's going to really show you where a lot of stuff comes through in your life. With me, my most heavily aspected sign is Capricorn. And I have 3 planets in Capricorn. I have a lot of oppositions, I have a lot of squares, I have a lot of trines, I have a lot of sextiles to planets that are in Capricorn. Now, because that's literally all these over here. And as you can see, there's like all this stuff. Even my yod is throwing itself at one of my Capricorn planets. And a yod is an actual arrow. You just can't see my south node pointing at it. So just imagine there's another green line pointing at it. That communication. But if you look, you can see there's so many things. Like, literally, if you like look across, it's like everything is like coming down and trying to touch a planet that's in Capricorn, even though it's not hitting one of them tons. So it's not like the most heavily aspected planet. One of them is not the most heavily aspected. It's the most aspected sign. It's the most planet heavy sign. It's what I have heaviest as a sign energy in my chart. So since that's the case, my 6th house is holding some of the heavy energies, which really affected my health before I learned what the hell was going on. So, and also my Saturn, which is in its home sign of Capricorn, which adds to it, because planets like in their own sign tend to add to what is happening, which is the same for my Venus. My Venus is in Taurus, my Mars is in Aries, my Pluto's in Scorpio. It's like I have a lot of planets that are actually in their originating signs, but so that kind of adds to the karmic. It adds to the, like, all my relationships are very karmic. It brings my shadows to the surface in pretty much anyone I deal with, and it forces me to face them, because the Capricorn energy is like, you gotta work through this shit. It's like you gotta keep going forward through the shit, like you can't stop. It's like that hard-working attitude. But since everything is going to it, including squares and oppositions, That's where I become my own worst enemy, which is why I'm saying it's very easy for the sixth house to become the house of neglect. Because, especially in my case, I was literally killing myself to help people. Like, you can see, I like had that expansive energy. It was hidden from me in the 12th house that I was killing myself to help people. So I had to learn that lesson the hard way, which literally I almost died in January. I had to learn it the extremely, like, extreme hard way. Okay? I didn't get it the first couple times, just like my body like deteriorating. I had to literally be in the hospital, like on death's doorstep to understand this. Not saying that's going to be the case for everybody. I hope it's not the case for you. But that's just literally what happened to me to get me to the point where I understood what was happening to me. But like I said, that sign is heavy in my chart, so obviously it's going to create heavy duty things that I'm going to go through. But each of these things you guys can find in your chart. You can find the planet that's the most aspected. You can find the sign that either has the most planets or has the most aspect going to the planets in that sign to know which sign is the most heavy in your chart. And then you can know your chart ruler by just knowing the planet that rules your ascendant sign. So those are three things you guys can find and kind of apply and try to understand yourself a little better. Because if you understand those energies, you can see what energies will really help you. Like, I know my Mercury energy helps me, even though I never wanted to be the one that had the soul spotlight. That's really weird coming from a South Node Leo, because it's like you should come into this life wanting to be the spotlight. No, I was not at all. Like, I was way more happy being a wallflower, which is really weird. But at the same time, I was always pushed into doing leader things, and I actually hated it. And that was just a really weird thing that I had with me. But a lot of people that come in with their energies, it's like they're already in this thing where it's like, hey, this is how I am, and they're trying to learn their North Node, which this is another thing that I can show you guys as well. This, when you look at planets and you know which signs go to which planets, what you can do is you can go to the house you have in your chart that sign is ruling over. So I'll go ahead and use my Uranus for example. Uranus is tied to Aquarius energy now because it's its ruler. But in my chart, the 8th house is ruled by Aquarius. So that means my Uranus is actually tied to my 8th house energy. Now, look back and forth between the energies. My Uranus is in my house of routine, my house of health, this house of coworkers, pets, all these kinds of different things, but also like where I don't take care of myself because I'm so busy taking care of other people, right? Having my Uranus there makes it to where if I were to understand the 8th house and how it can be the occult, it can be hidden secrets, and it can be other people's property and just like court cases, lawyers, like so many different things like that. Literally, it makes complete sense because I have gone through all that shit routinely in my life. Like, it's been literally my day-to-day life has been dealing with stuff in some aspect with the 8th house. Now, it also probably drives it home that my Uranus is an 8th degree. 8 goes with Saturn energy, and my Saturn is in Capricorn. So once again, in comes the shadow work, the karma, the relationships, the other people's crap with the 8th house that comes into my routine every single day. So, if that's not enough, there's more, guys. Remember, that Uranus is my yod point. So, literally, it is my destiny for my freaking routine to be this kind of stuff. It's just routine for me. It's not like I lucked out and had my yod point in some other house where it wasn't my routine. But the thing is, it's pulling my house of self, my first house, and my 11th house sun energy. So it's pulling my heart, which is the sun, it's the ego, the heart, are things that are ruled by Leo, into this daily routine. My heart is part of my routine. Like, I need to go by my heart or I get sick, which is literally like the truth here. And then I have my south node going to it as well. So I'm trying to pull all these things that I should already know into this energy. That is routine daily. It is my routine. I need to be doing this. So it's pretty much so many things are going over here, but just that small little piece with knowing that Aquarius and Uranus energy goes together and ties it over here shows just how much this Uranus energy and where it's being pulled from too, because it's so tied in everywhere. But it's not the most heavily aspected planet in my chart. Mercury is, even though it holds a lot of importance in the chart. So that's for the other question earlier. It's mainly what goes to a planet more, not necessarily how important the aspects are, because all aspects are important. They all tell a certain story, they all tell us what we need to be doing, and helps us grow. So all of them are important in their own ways. Now, that was just a little bit of kind of tying in house rulers with their planets. If I was to tie in, ironically, if I was to tie in my Mercury to where it's supposed to go, it's in my 12th house of hidden talent crap and subconscious and all that stuff. You know, the surrender house, I gotta surrender to my expression and my communication, because my 12th house is ruled by Gemini, which is Mercury's ruler. That's what I'm saying. Everything is so connected together, guys. Once you start going into each thing, it's like the more you look at it, you're like, wait, this goes with this too. And it's like it starts pulling things together and painting this picture like, oh my gosh, I didn't understand that before. This actually makes sense. It's like, even I still do that, okay? Like, I know right now I have 3 grand water trines or more. I don't know how many I have. I have at least 3 grand water trines with just the transit because of Neptune. Because Neptune's like sitting in my 9th house over here. It's creating 3 or more grand water trines in my chart right now, which, as you guys can tell, I am natally very earth heavy. And like I was telling you, I'm not very expressive with my emotions. But having 3 or more, I can't remember, grand water trines just chilling with me right now because of that freaking Neptune and the degree it's at. And it's going to be staying there for a good bit because my, like I said, the 8 orb, it's going to be sitting in this crap for a good bit. It's making my emotions come out whether I want it or not. It's making the need for like me talking about the self-love and talking about not only to you guys like talking about it, but making myself do it. Hey Kat. So it's like that's where I'm saying transits can come in and just throw a whole nother loop on your like natural energy, because say you are starting to understand your chart and you're starting to understand, okay, this is what helps me, this is what like is really hard for me, it's what I'm working through, then you start throwing some transits in there. You got a whole nother layer sitting on top of what you're trying to do already, okay? Because obviously we can see this year the transits have been haywire, they have been doing whatever the hell they want. Everyone at some point this year, I'm pretty sure, had a stellium somewhere in their chart where they were just getting a whole bunch of crap thrown around because literally Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn were just running around buddies together. So this year you had at least a Capricorn stellium at one point, which is a lot. Okay, having planets and things going on in Capricorn, yeah, I had like all of them chilling out doing stuff over here the whole year. It was beautiful, guys. But knowing, I mean, I'm really happy for my it to move into Aquarius. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, just get off of my Capricorn shit. But but then I'm gonna be moving into my North Node being conjunct Jupiter and Saturn, which is gonna be a whole nother ball game. I was thinking about that this morning, going, yay, it's moving. Oh, wait, it's moving into that. But like I was saying, if you kind of know where your stuff is in your chart, and like with me, I can remember degrees. It's just, I've always been pretty good at remembering numbers. It's why I went into math. So once I kind of get a blueprint in my mind, I'm also very visual of what transits look like, what numbers they are, how fast planets move. I can kind of guess how long things are going to be sitting in what, and when it's going to start going somewhere. And plus, people post the dates of everything when it's going to happen constantly, so it's kind of hard to forget when you're doing what I'm doing, because it's literally everywhere and people post it like all the time, like Mercury's going in the Scorpio. Like, I knew along, well, then again, I wrote everything down at the beginning of the year in my books. I already had all these transits written down, but then you hear it like 50 times over, like a month before it's going to happen, and it's like, there's no way you're not going to know the date. It's just like, it's like everyone knows the 21st. The great conjunction is like everywhere over the internet, and everyone has their point of view on the great conjunction. All I can tell you guys for that day, do what you're told to do. Okay? Like, there's so many different things out there saying what you need to do on that day when Saturn and Jupiter go conjunct in Aquarius. There are so many things being said. Do what your intuition is telling you to do, okay? Like, what's right for you is right for you, period. Because you have to realize Aquarius is the sign of, like, being unique. It's like freaking Uranus over here. It's the sign of being uncomfortable, unexpected shit. So it's like you need to allow for your uniqueness to lead you as opposed to following the crowd. And some people might have the same thing they're doing, like because you know, Aquarius is also the collective. There's going to be groups of people that things work for. It's not saying that like everyone's going to do completely different things, but it's like doing the thing that actually resonates to you and not just going with a fad because you're trying to fit in. Yes, exactly. Be a weirdo queen or king. Like, you know, do your thing, and if it does go with other people, have fun with those other people, but don't let people sway you into doing things that go against your core, because you're really not going to be happy with what happens after that. Which all of my readings have been screaming that lately, so I really hope you guys are getting that message. Because, like, they have been yelling lately. Like, I feel very chill today compared to when I'm reading. Like, I still, you know, even when I'm reading charts, I still get messages and stuff, like when I'm doing tarot. But it's a lot more chill for me. It's a lot more calm. To just look at these things and be able to talk about all of them in tandem whenever I want to bring up a certain thing. When I'm doing tarot, it is just like, you know, you're going to get what you get, and it's going to keep going until it's done. And then once it's done, I'm like, holy shit, I'm ready for a break. But it's like, that's a lot different energy. It's a very amped energy. But then again, it's like my Gemini sun is up here in my 11th house, which Gemini has the spectrum of what you can go through, and that goes for my energy too. Because with that Aries in the ninth, my spiritual energy is like, I can go complete amp, and then I can slow down and go more Taurus, which is typically what I do with charts. I go more into my Taurus energy, and I'm calmer with the communication and the expression with it, whereas when I'm going more into the tarot energy, it's just like I just let it flow out how it's going to flow out, whether it's going to be like nice and sweet or it's going to be like I'm burning people like they're vampires walking into the sun or something. Like it's whatever with that. Okay, but I've come to understand that about myself. I'm not saying like I need to be a certain way with everything I do. I know that does not work for me. I can't be like a lot of these YouTubers that go on there and have like the ASMR going all the time, where it's just like they talk in the same voice and everything is so calming. And oh, this one came out and this is like really bad for you guys, but I'll tell you how you can work through this. No, I'm sorry guys, I can't do it. It's not going to work that way. Like, I read through emotion. Like, that's literally how I read, is through emotion. I don't know if you guys have seen or understood that's what's happening with me, but I know, and I actually had it like come through, that my gifts are activated by my emotions. Like, when I literally allow myself to feel, which is why I'm being pushed so hard to let my emotions out, when I let myself feel and I let myself go with that, that's when the gifts come out. It's when I'm trying to suppress it and trying to hold back emotions when I'm going through things and not clearly express the emotion behind what I'm saying. That's when things get hard for me. That's when things cannot come out fluidly and I start skipping up because I'm thinking about what I have to say. So if I'm sitting there thinking about what I have to say constantly and trying to analyze it, the emotion gets taken away from it, and therefore part of the gift gets taken away with it, because what comes is literally the emotion. That's what pulls it out and then puts it down, and then I put it down with the Taurus energy and ground it. But it needs to come out through emotion. This was a lot of sacral work to do, by the way, and I'm still doing it. Like the chakras, like I talk about those a lot because it's really important to understand what they are tied to. It's important to know where you are having these issues, because say you do have a major energy that is your gift that you can be using to your advantage. Like, you see how Mercury, like I'm supposed to communicate, I had a major throat chakra blockage because of trauma. And there is no way a year ago you would see me doing this. Or, like, whatever. Like, if you were to tell me, like, a year or so ago that, this is what I would be doing, I'd be like, you can go fuck off. There's no way I'm gonna be out there talking in front of people. Like, no way, no how I would, like, pee myself. Like, it's not gonna happen. Even though I was in theater and I did all these other things, I never wanted to be at the forefront because it scared me to death. I loved music, I loved dancing, I loved acting. It's like I love doing all of the parody stuff and making people laugh. Making people laugh is like the best thing for me. I love people laughing. But if you're trying to make me go do something, like if I'm auditioning for a lead or something, it's like something always happened where it was like either I was sick or like I literally, like, my nerves just went psycho, and it's like, no, I can't do this. And that's why when you have, and that's, it's like knowing that I had that blockage. I had a lot of blockages back then, though. It wasn't just one. I think I was completely blocked off, except for my freaking crown chakra, because that never left me alone. I was born with that thing open, and it wasn't gonna shut, no matter what I did. But understanding which ones you have open and the signs of them being closed and being able to work through the energy and align with it, it really helps with understanding, like, okay, like, say you get a reading. Hey babe, say you get a reading and someone tells you, like, oh, you are like a very talented writer, like you could do this and this and blah blah blah, and you're sitting there like, how the fuck would I do that? Like, that doesn't sound anything like me. That scares the living shit out of me. There ain't no way. Like, that's like your immediate reaction when you're getting this kind of thing being told to you, you're just like, oh no, that scares the living shit out of me. There's no way. If you get scared of something and it's out of your comfort zone, more than likely it's what you're going to be pushed towards. And then if you fight it, it's like that's when you kind of lose the spark. Because this tends to happen when, especially if, say, we have solar plexus blockage. That's our confidence. That's us actually like being able to pursue our passion. It's a lot like that Sun Leo energy, and it's also our inner child. It is like, have we healed it? We heal our inner child by healing the solar plexus and going after the dreams and feeling confident in doing it and expressing ourselves. And it's like being able to pull that light out and then let it filter through the heart, which when that's opened and healing, it's like you create from your heart and it comes out. Because it's like the throat chakra is your mouthpiece. It's like, it's also your ears. A lot of people forget, or they just don't know that the throat chakra also deals with healing. It deals hearing. It deals with healing. Everything deals with healing, but deals with hearing, because that can be how you listen in relationships. Are you a listener, or are you just like a freaking stone that literally doesn't take anything in what people say, or are you literally just waiting to say something back? It's not like you're actually listening. It's like you're waiting to have a sounding board and just being kind. It's like if you're blocked off, that's kind of how you act. And it's like you can't be a listener and you can't truly be like a compassionate ear for somebody if you're just waiting to say something back. It's like you're not really listening. So if that's blocked off, you're kind of having that issue. And it also deals with if, say, you have clairaudience as well, when you might just hear certain things. Like, I literally hear words sometimes, or I could swear I heard conversations before. And it's like, no, I didn't talk to you about that. But it's just this whole thing that comes through with it. And if you have your throat chakra closed off, you're not going to be able to hear that way. Even if you have the gift, it's just going to be kind of closed off from you and be kind of like dudded a little bit, kind of like you're deaf, which I am deaf in my left ear, fun fact. But just a little fun fact about me, I am deaf in my left ear. But hey Anna. But interestingly enough, I still get the high pitches. I still actually hear things out of it, even though I've been tested multiple times by doctors, like with the hearing tests and everything, that it's like my hearing, if anything, that I have over there is barely existent. So being able to hear things in my left ear, I know is not me actually hearing shit. So it's a weird thing once I started realizing that. Oh, thanks, Anna. Yeah, I was talking about it earlier with some stuffs. We talked about bending of the nose, mystic rectangles, numerology, just like a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, and like with pitches, the more, that's also kind of part of it too, which there also is, you have to make sure you understand the difference between things, because there is also something called tinnitus. There is a big difference between a tinnitus ring and the other type of ring. Tinnitus is very incessant, okay? It's not going to happen at pinpoint times when something is important. It's not just going to be like all of a sudden, like, you see something you weren't even thinking about and then you get a ring. I'm sorry, that's not tinnitus. That's like making sure you understood what you just saw is important. It's like there's a big difference, and that's being kind of tuned into. And it's having that trust with yourself when knowing, okay, that's me having something else, and this is me like needing to listen to something right now. There's like a really big difference in that. And I know for some people completely don't believe that way. I am not pushing that on anybody. If you don't feel that way, like I said, everything I feel is my truth. Everyone has their own truth. If you resonate with my truth, cool. I'm not going to stop being your friend or liking you if you don't. And that's one thing that's really prevalent right now is everyone is so pushy with their thing being the thing that it's like, I don't freaking like you anymore. Or I cannot talk to you. You are the scum of the earth because you do not hold the same views. You do not hold the same accountability as me. It's like no one can understand that there's variations in spectrum, and you can just decide, to have certain boundaries. It's not like you have to go off hating people. If you have healthy boundaries, you don't need to hate nobody. You can literally just like have your boundaries and understand what you're going to let in your life and what you're not. There's no reason to carry hate around with you. It does not help anything. It honestly doesn't. If anything, it's just toxic to you, because I can pretty much guarantee you that the person you are literally hating and creating all this toxicity in yourself over is probably not even thinking about you. Like, that's kind of what tends to happen in those situations is the person that you are like hating completely has no clue whatsoever that you completely hate them. And they're going about their lives just doing whatever. And more than likely, you have people that hate you, and it's a very I don't mean to say useless, okay? Every emotion has a time and place to be validated and learned from and to grow from. But at the same time, it is a toxic emotion to hold on to because it just creates and perpetuates so much, and it takes up so much of your energy that could be going towards you instead of putting your energy into somebody else like that. Preach, preach, preach. um, exactly. If you're doing things for you and you have your own life and you're going about, you don't really have time if you're actually using your time like it's precious to be wasting on that kind of thing. Because if you look at however many hours you have in the day to get certain things done before you're sleeping, because we need sleep, guys, it's not a competition. We should not be happy about not getting sleep. We're made to feel so guilty. Even though we're going through this right now, we're made to feel guilty for resting. You are made to feel guilty for being sick, for resting, for taking care of yourself. It's like this kind of mentality is what is making so many people not healthy in their body and their mind and their emotions, because they feel complete shame and guilt over taking care of themselves properly, because it's more of a competition to be like, man, I only got 5 hours of sleep. Oh man, I only got 2 hours of sleep. I didn't even get sleep last night. It's like we are proud and competing over things that are toxic to us, when it should be like, damn, I can't believe I slept 11 hours. That actually felt pretty good. It's like, okay, so maybe that day your body really needed that freaking rest. You should be glad and grateful you had the time to get that rest, instead of being like, fuck, there goes half my day. I'm so lazy, and you immediately get up and start treating yourself like that. Instead, look at it like, wow, I must have been worn out. Like, my body really needed that rest. Because your body doesn't take things if it doesn't need it, especially when it comes to sleep. If your body is trying to sleep, it's trying to tell you something. Something you're doing while you're like conscious and going around is draining you to the fact that your body feels like it needs to stay asleep. So it's like trying, because when you're sleeping, you're naturally healing yourself because your body is going through the motions and creating what it needs to repair at a cellular level, like what we need. And if we have this constant need of being tired and that we need to sleep, we're going through healing. Like, that's a major thing that people don't understand. And if you're feeling like falling out all the time, it's because you need to replenish yourself while you're consciously awake, because you are not giving your body enough to do what you need to. And if you're having to supplement things, like you're drinking tons of coffee, you're drinking energy drinks, which ruin your organs, by the way, it's like it's not natural for the body to go through that and be forced through that. It messes up so much stuff, and that's why people get run down so fast, is because you force your body to do something that's not a natural thing. And by no way am I saying I'm perfect, okay? I went through the thing where I was working 2 jobs and burning myself into the ground and not eating properly, and just like, I've been there, okay? This isn't me being like, I am holier than thou and a saint and I never did anything wrong. I am so far from that. But yeah, Anna, that's a really good point, because with people that are in the spiritual community, and I do see this a lot, it's like people are very hesitant to appreciate unique gifts because they want to be the top of what's going on. Now, obviously, this is my opinion. Everyone can have their opinion. No one has the same gifts. We all pick up on it differently. And that's why when you watch certain people or you listen to certain people and you're like, that's not how it works for me, there's a reason it doesn't work that way for you. You can have similarities, but you are a completely unique individual. Just like looking at charts here. It's like we are going to receive things completely different than anybody else. And competing for who has the better way of receiving it is kind of silly in my eyes. It's just another way of receiving it. Sometimes it's not acknowledged because it seems more worldly, like more 3D, like if you write a book that everyone resonates with, like millions and millions of people resonate with it very highly, that's actually a form of gift, okay? Like, it's like that kind of connection. It happens from a spiritual place. It doesn't happen from humdrum, okay? That's like really letting out a pure gift and people connecting to it. Everyone's is special because it just is working through and trying to understand it. When people can't see what their gifts are, and a lot of times our gifts are like beat out of us, and I'm not trying to trigger anybody because that literally happened to me, but sometimes the way that our gifts are looked at when we come into this world, it's usually trying to smush it out. There aren't many people that are put in environments that completely nurture their gifts. And one example I want to say that is an environment that actually nurtured gifts would be Billie Eilish. Like, if you look at her and you look at how she's creative, and she was literally put into things she felt were her gifts, like from a young age when you know your gifts, it's like they just let her express the gifts. They didn't like try to push them down. They allowed them to free flow, and that's why her gifts developed and expanded at the rate they did, is because those gifts were nurtured. That's what it looks like when a natural gift is nurtured and it's like an innate one. You might not be mentally and emotionally like at a growth phase yet to where you understand that that's what happened or what comes with it, but spiritually, deep down, you know that I know how to do this, and you just let it out because that's all you know how to do, is because you were nurtured in that sense to just let that out however it's going to come out, and not let it matter what someone else thinks, because you were brought up in the safety of knowing that this is who you are. Now, a lot of us don't have that. A lot of us go through the things where it's the opposite, where it's smushed, where it's completely like put to this place where it's probably an ember left instead of like that flame that just burns, like this passion where you just go for it. A lot of people are put in the place where they barely have an ember, and sometimes it goes out because they just have no way of dealing with certain situations. Um, I have complete compassion for those people because, to be honest with you, I was there many times where I felt like I didn't have anything left, but I always had something because I always had that voice that was like, it's for a reason, it'll get better. It's like, I don't know where the hell that came from, but it was with me since I was so little that it was like I didn't even know why I was being told that. But it's like as I got older, that stayed with me somehow. And that's why so many times when I felt it went completely out, I still kept going. And not everyone has that, sadly. And I'm not talking from an outside place where people were telling me it. I'm saying like from an internal place. Like I said, I know for a fact my crown was always open, especially coming into the world knowing constellations and planets and like I could point in the sky and be like, oh look, Venus is passing over. Like, what little kid knows that kind of crap, okay? Like, that is just really random. But a lot of my stuff was made to feel suppressed, but it couldn't really be suppressed no matter what happened, whether I tried to do it or whether other people did. But it's like at the same time, though, I was made to fear them. I was made to feel ashamed for having them. So this creates a layer of this is trying to come out and I'm ashamed of it. And it's like it turns into this beast that you have to fight because you don't want people knowing. You don't want people bringing that shame and talking about it. And it's like you watch other people and you really admire them because it's like they can so openly talk about it, but you're ashamed of having it. And when you talk about it, it's almost like you feel like, what the hell are you doing? And it's like a voice comes in like that. When that happens to people, no matter how strong something is, it's very, 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 very hard to push yourself out of that. And that's why I'm saying if you would have told me like a year ago or so that I'd be doing something like this, uh, I wouldn't even be on the same rem as you right now. But but growth happens, and that's one thing that I learned a lot this year is that all the years that I closed things off and felt shame for them and barely let them out, I pretty much got a crash course in just letting it the fuck out. Everything, just let everything the fuck out. And for um yeah, Anna, I know you did. You can well, I don't, like I said, I say you can, and it's like the way I talk, I like to encompass people in with my my energy. I don't want anyone to feel alone, but at the same time, my South Node energy, I need to learn to talk like it's coming from me and kind of thing. But it makes me feel safe to include people with me, and that's something that I'm learning instead of just saying I. It's like I say like you or we, and it's like trying to group people with me so that way it's not like I'm standing out on my own and just saying this thing until like you guys hear me go on my rants when all of a sudden this stuff comes out and it's like this is how I feel like on a rant. Like I said, when my emotions go up, the soul comes out and it's just raw instinct to stay in that energy and say what's going to be said, and I'm not used to it. This is completely new energy to me that I am learning and realizing I have in me. It's something that I suppressed very hard. And with when I look at people, it's almost like I can almost kind of feel that from them. Like the first time I saw Anna, I immediately felt very torn, almost like I can't get close, but at the same time very innocent and sweet. And it's like getting to know her, literally, it's like I can understand why. And it takes trusting your instincts with that kind of stuff too, because before I really started allowing myself to open, when people would tell me that they're drawn to me, they like being around me, I did not understand it. I honestly, and when people told me, like, I just, like, saw a post you did and I loved your energy and I just want to talk to you, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, because I wasn't on that spectrum. I wasn't open enough to understand it, and I didn't even like people saying they vibed with me. Like, I was just like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because I was such this closed off shell where it was like, I don't understand how you guys can even feel anything because I'm trying to keep myself closed off right now. And starting to open up with it and understand it and realize just how much I hid myself out of fear and out of shame, like, I am not meant to be seen kind of energy, like the freaking bane of the earth. Like, you should not be coming and showing your face anywhere. It's like the more that I stepped out of that, as painful as it was for me to go and work through those emotions, it kept getting easier. And then it made it to where the more comfortable I got, the more other stuff opened up. Which is why I'm saying when we have gifts that get pinpointed, and at first we are so averse to it, but something in our core says, but I want it though. It's like that little voice is trying to tell us, but I want to. And it comes out so quiet, and it just creates this feeling in you, like it's like you want to just bawl and cry because you know that you're crushing something. It's like that feeling. But everything else is so heavy and telling you you can't. And usually that's where that hidden gift is because it was trying to get crushed out. That's why it's hidden. It's because people did not let you explore it. It's not because it's trying to hide from you. I mean, it wants to be there. It wants to be, like, out for everybody to see because it's a gift. Like, the only reason you hide gifts is to surprise people, at least for me, and I'm horrible at it. I'm fucking horrible at it. Oh my god. It's like, I don't like getting things early because I sit with it and I'm just like, I want to tell people so bad. Maybe if I just tell them and not show them, they won't really know what it looks like. So it's like, I am horrible with that. But at the same time, gifts are beautiful. Gifts always make people happy. It's not like the only time someone isn't happy when they see a gift is if they're not grateful or if it makes them uncomfortable. If it makes them uncomfortable, that means they feel inadequate. And that's when people start lashing out. That's when ego comes out. Because, I mean, we can even take this in a physical sense instead of a spiritual sense. Like, the only reason someone would be upset over you getting a gift and them getting a different gift is because for some reason it's not that you got a better gift, it's because the gift was given to you and they feel an inadequacy towards you. They could have got something that was way more expensive, that the person that got it for them went through so much more to get it for them than the other person, but they're always going to feel the other person's gifts are always so much more important because they have an inadequacy towards the person, not the physical thing. And you can't make those people happy when they're always going to be feeling inadequate towards the person you're giving the gift to. It has nothing to do with the gift. And that's one thing that was very hard for me to learn because I did not understand why I would put so much effort into one person's gift and they would still be upset over something that took me far less time to give to somebody else. And it made no sense to me. And then once it started clicking that it was what they had towards that person, it had nothing to do with how much hard work I put into a gift for them. It had to do with how they felt about that person. The only way they would have been happy is that person getting nothing. Like, I could have just made a card for somebody and someone's like, what the heck? And I went through so much to save and get them something and just work so hard for them and toil away trying to get it for them, and it's not as good as the card that I made because I had nothing left and all I could do was create for somebody. They're jealous over the card. When in reality, they're just not happy with that person that got it. And that's something to kind of take with you if, like, you're physically gift giving people and that keeps happening. Probably, like, step back and see how they interact with that person who they are always all pissed off with the gifts. But looking at it from a spiritual perspective, with how people are with gifts in the spiritual community, it's some people really honestly aren't going to care how other people have gifts, if it's better than their gift or whatever, because they don't have a problem with those people or whatever, because they're kind of like doing their own thing. They don't have a way to kind of base like me. I feel like everyone's stuff's valid. I feel it's really cool to see people's things differently and see how they get certain things. Like, I find it very interesting. But then again, I'm very interested in the mind. I'm very interested in how things come out and are formed in any sense, because I just really love learning it. But the whole thing is some people feel inadequate. And it's when you have that inadequacy towards another person or another group of people or anything like that, is like when you start the comparison, and it's like it starts turning into that kind of hate feeling, because you've compared so much that the reason you're not liking yourself is because of everything that person is. And it's when you get down that kind of dark um, place that it's hard to come back from. That's why it is not something you want to sit in that comparison with people, because you are never going to be happy ever if you all of a sudden base everything in your life on the fact that someone else has something and you're not that. Like, it will just be a huge downward spiral. And I do need to drink water. But I feel like that's what actually happens a lot in the community, because, like, let's just say let's use tarot readers for an example, like the people that just do like YouTube tarot stuff. Um, they all try to be different, but then they do the same thing but try to make their way better than the next person. Or if they see something works for another person, they try to copy it and do it in a more flashy way or something. It's like, instead of just looking at what they're doing and seeing what feels comfortable to them, what kind of works, it's like they're not really looking around them. They're just kind of like, I don't like how that feels, I'll try this instead. Oh, I don't really like how that feels, I'll try this instead. It's like they're not really like experimenting. It's like they're trying to find someone and say like this worked for them, and then it's like they try it and it doesn't work for them, and they're like hating the person instead of just going, well, maybe I'll just try something else. It's like when you start veering away from just exploring and learning, which is the very positive side of like going into that, is like just really expanding, which is what the ninth house really wants for us. Like the eighth house is going to introduce us to this energy. The ninth house is like, hey, now we're going to expand and learn about it, because this is fun. Like, let's like open up and like see all these horizons and see all this new stuff, because maybe some of these old views that we gathered when we were younger, more immature energy, can be broadened and like made closer to my personal truth. Like, that kind of energy is very good, it's very nourishing. But when you start getting into the energy where what you're learning becomes obsessive, it's like you're going backwards. Because if you think about it, that obsession comes from the 8th house. It's not like you're expanding and going forward. You're kind of starting to go back a little bit, and you're going into that obsessive energy, and you're just going towards this thing where it's like, my thing, like my pick a card, I did the exact same layout, I put the exact same crystals out, and why didn't my thing go like this person's thing, and blah blah blah. It's like when you get very obsessive with it, it's almost like you aren't seeing or doing things from a place of happiness anymore, or even like wanting to try something and learn something. It's like you are doing it literally because it's almost like a stalkerish obsessive energy, where it's like you have to make something work that worked for somebody else, and then it's all of a sudden it becomes this tit for tat where, well, I do this and it's better than doing this because this person obviously doesn't have the experience I do. They haven't had the same like, whether it's years of doing it, like you have the age to back it up, like you've been doing this for centuries, or you just have different life experiences that are way more heavy than the other person, so this means obviously you have a way better and deeper understanding. Or maybe like your circumstances have put you in the best position to know this. It's like when you start trying to do that and trying to come out and like have that competition with it instead of respecting others where they are and what they bring, it's like it creates animosity, and you don't want that. It's like, who wants to listen to that energy except for people that are in that energy? Like, the only people that are going to be okay with digesting very animosity filled, like, kind of wrath energy, like, you know, those sins that can like come up and really start burying you. It's like that wrath and that envy just like sitting all up in there, and you're sitting there listening to it and you're digesting it. Just like you're eating food. You're listening to how they're doing that to all these people, however they want to express things. And that's what you're choosing to take in. And that's what you're going to start doing. That's how you're going to be interacting with people. And that's this type of thing you're going to consider normal. Because you have to realize that what you expose yourself to, you don't really have a choice when you're young. So what you grow up in is going to, okay, I don't know where that random accent came from. Random accents come out of me sometimes. Girl, I don't even know. But what you grow up in, you don't really have a choice, so to speak. So that's going to automatically feel normal to you unless you have such a strong burning inner compass that you know, like, the moment you are born, that it's like, this is like fucking bullshit and I'm just waiting. Waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Like that kind of thing. I'm sorry, like I might have had that little voice, but I didn't know. I think the only thing I did know, which is very funny, um, of course, I went through a whole lot of atrocities, but at the same time, because I was going through those things, I did not want to have a romantic connection with everyone, with anyone, and watching everyone else like having girlfriends and boyfriends. I had a couple crushes, but there was like in no way that I was like I wanted a boyfriend because of things that were happening in my life. And but when people would approach me, I would be so callous and so mean when people would ask me out. Because I was just like, oh, like I was in the space of why the fuck are you approaching me? Like I wanted no approach to happen with me, but other people would be upset even though I didn't have a freaking boyfriend. I didn't understand this shit. But oh my gosh, my brain just ran away, guys. I saw Bay laugh and my brain just went poof because looking at her laugh. But it wasn't like I ever felt it's not your fault. Like sometimes my brain does that. I'm telling you guys. my brain goes spectrum to spectrum over here. It's like I can be completely like talking all this stuff, and then the next moment it just poofs and I have nothing. Like, I'm telling you, it's complete spectrums over here. But the thing is, like, trying to remember exactly where I was even going with the thing, because if I can catch that out of the air somewhere, I'll be able to pull back what I was talking about. Oh my gosh. Um, the hell, man. But okay, maybe I'll just retrack and talk about something else and see if something else comes up instead. Because I honestly have no idea. Like, the memory is completely gone. I have no idea what I was talking about. So I'm gonna go off of the statement talking about something with YouTube. I'm pretty sure at some point I was talking about like the envy and the jealousy. I remember saying something like that. But I know. But the thing is, when people are doing these things, it's more because they feel very inadequate and they're trying to pull from this place. Okay, now I'm remembering that I said something about inner compass. But oh, that's where I was telling you guys this story. Okay, so one thing that I'd always say to people, because there was that thing that's always been drilled and it's still drilled into people, that if she says no, it just means push harder or something. But the thing is, one thing I always said to people that I don't even know where the hell it came from. Obviously, like I said, things, I would just say things that made no sense. But something I said since I was so young is like, my boyfriend's in California. I don't know how young I started saying that to people, but I was saying that to people. And I was always just constantly saying it. I'm like, I have a boyfriend, he's in California. I don't even know. I know I started saying it before I was 11. And it was just like one of those things that I constantly said. And then when I was 16, I had a very vivid dream that is still unfolding, by the way. I don't know how long this dream's gonna go. But when I was 16, I had this dream of this guy. And very stark things that I was supposed to remember was green eyes and a very certain shaped nose that I hadn't seen, because being where I grew up, there was not a lot of diversity. I'm sorry, there really wasn't. Hey, but the thing was, he had a nose I hadn't really seen too, so it was like, he looked completely different to me, and I was just, he made me feel safe, because the dream that I was having was going through a lot of things that I was going through, but I automatically felt safe with him. And then it started progressing forward, and literally pretty much every major event that has happened was in this dream, and it's still going, but it was like using metaphors, but it used the actual people in my dreams that went through it. So I'm at the part in the dream now where I'm happy that I, because for some reason I was so overjoyed to be able to see color in leaves and actually see sunlight, and I realize now that that is because I was pretty much in quarantine before there was quarantine, because when I almost died, I was put on immune suppressants, and I basically have no immune system because my immune system tries to kill me. So, well, another fun fact. But so when I came out, I basically was extremely, like, coming from death's doorstep. I couldn't walk or anything. I was needing to be taken care of, which was a whole lesson in itself, because I took care of everybody and I didn't like people doing things for me. But this whole energy that I went through with this, why does this keep happening? I need to quit looking at you guys because I talk and then I look over it. That's so beautiful. I'm like, wait, what was beautiful? Oh my god. Dude, I'm telling you. Okay, I had a lot better concentration when Neptune was in retrograde. It is, like I said, the thing is freaking direct now, and it's directing all of these water trines. So it's like I'm over here just like da like going off, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? But where the heck was I going with that one? Oh yeah. But anyways, I actually remember the main point. Finally, that one came striking back. But I had this whole dream, and it turns out that when I was 19, I was about to turn 20. Um, Literally, if nothing would have happened exactly the way it did, I wouldn't have met him. Like, it was a huge, like, there's no way it could have been coincidence. Because, for one, my grandma had to come stay at the house that I was at, like at my mom's house before I moved, and I was still in a pretty bad environment. Um, it's like my grandma came to stay with us. I never had internet before because internet was still kind of a new thing, but not extremely new. But we didn't have a computer in our house. We didn't have internet. I didn't have an email. I mean, other people had MySpace and stuff. I actually never had one because of where I grew up. But this, her being there was like the first major thing. Because if she hadn't even come to stay with us at the exact time she chose to come stay with us, wouldn't have happened. But then on top of that, she decided because she had had internet already and she needed it, that she was going to get internet. Okay, that's a first. And then on top of it, it just so happened I love playing video games. And it was what I did a whole lot, and it was one of the things I was good at. And this, what happened was I learned, because this is like just how out of the loop I was, that you could be live, because this was back with the very first Xbox, that you could be live on Xbox and play with other people on the internet. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. See, my grandma had a very soft spot for me that she didn't have for anybody else. And I didn't learn this until a little later because she hadn't told anyone that she loved them, not even my mom. They have a very weird relationship. But she would tell me she loved me, but I didn't know that I was one of the only people she was saying that to. And it's like my brother would ask her for something and she would just say no. And then he'd come ask me to go ask her, and I didn't know why, but I would go and ask her, and he asked me to ask her if she would get the live thing for us so we could play the game with other people. So I was like, okay. So I went and asked her, and she paid for it for us to have it because I asked if she would do it. And then, like I'm saying, all these things had to line up exactly or what happened. But then I get on the very first person that, because I was playing Borderlands, the first Borderlands. And so it's a game, if you don't know, you go around with three other people, like up to three other people, and you shoot a bunch of stuff that is very funny to me. It might be very vulgar to other people, but it was that, plus you had powers and you shoot things and drive cars. It was like a whole bunch of stuff like that. But anyways, I loved playing that game. And the very first person I met on this game was someone that I called in New York. I called him New York like I would call people by the states they were from. I was a very random person. People did not know what to make of me because I knew nothing about the freaking internet, guys. I am telling you, like, I was so freaking innocent when it came to the internet. And I didn't know people had relationships on the internet. I didn't know that people would date over gaming consoles or anything like that. I had no idea. And I met this guy I called New York, and he introduced me 1 week later after convincing him to who I was going to call California because he was from California. And the reason that he did not want to meet me is New York was very notorious for having what were called XBRs, which were Xbox relationships with girls that would be completely rude to him. So he never liked to be the third wheel and have to deal with snobby, bratty chicks, basically. And because he just really didn't care by that point because he had known this guy since he was 12 and he had been through the ringer with it. Now, I was looking for no relationship whatsoever. I'm 19. I had gone through my first boyfriend when I was 16, 17, and it was absolutely horrible. Like, I, and then my mom let him live with us too, so it was like a day in, day out horrible. Um, so once I broke it with him, I wasn't with nobody. I didn't want to deal with nobody. I was just like, if you're trying to go beyond friends, I am not talking to you. That's kind of just how I was. I was in that place. And what's funny is I'm coming in and he's thinking I'm one of these girlfriends. And I'm just trying to talk to people and, asking where he's from, and he's trying to ignore me. And then he finally, like, grunts out California. And I'm like, are you okay? You seem like you're in a mood. And he's like, I'm fine. And, like, we're playing the game, and eventually he realizes I'm not flirting with shit. I'm actually talking shit and going off and doing my own thing. I'm not being one of the chicks that's like, oh, help me. It's like they're constantly looking for me because I'm off fighting stuff by myself because I didn't have patience for them arguing over some kind of stat on a gun because I didn't care enough about that. I just wanted to go kill things. And, eventually, I got to know him and learn his name. Me, him, and New York, I'm not going to actually use their names, actually became very good friends. And we would play games every day, talking to each other on headsets, and it was just like one of those things for years. And the thing is, me and him started getting feelings for each other, and his friends started getting feelings for me. I didn't know that, which was not good because me and California were already kind of talking like, we had told each other we loved each other, but we didn't know if we could date because we weren't going to date if it would only be long distance and we would never meet each other because we felt that wasn't fair to either of us. But then his friend went and told me, and oh my gosh, that was the drama of the century. I cannot tell you enough about that. Oh my god, that was so freaking horrible. Oh my god, that was something for the books. Um, but yes, we actually all still talk, by the way, which is pretty cool. We've all like grown so much since then. It's insane. But it's like eventually that got worked through. We met for the first time in 2010, and he has the green eyes and the nose because he's Greek. He's part Greek. So he has the nose. And I was like, what the hell? Because the first time I saw a picture of him, I'm like, I swear I've seen him somewhere before. And then I started going through different things in my life with him, right? And the dream kept coming back, and I kept seeing flashes of it because I get deja vu, and I'm like, holy shit. And then I finally realized the dream was about him. I don't know, maybe a year or so into our relationship, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I told him, and he turns out, he's a life path 9 Sag stellium in the first house, Pisces moon, Venus Scorpio. Like, he has these, and the way his stuff is placed is like so in tune, it is insane. But it's like a natural in tune. So it was like, with me, he's always kind of known. and he's had no doubt of anything, even though there was nothing before me. It's just how he's always been. And it's like one of those things, like if one thing didn't happen the way it did, like, you know, that's why, like, it is so hard for me to believe in coincidence, especially having that dream 3 years before meeting the person. Actually over 3 years, because I was turning 20. But I think that in itself solidified for me that anything that I was pushing down and shaming was very much real. So, where she go to? But the thing is, so much came with it though. It's not like, because in the dream so much crap happened. Like I saw that hurricane that hit my family and tore everyone else's apart, even though I did not know what I was seeing at the time, but looking back at it and seeing like how everything was destroyed, and it's like I was removed from it because I was walking around with him, with California, calling him California now when he's my boyfriend. But but it's like we're walking around and we're not part of it, but I'm looking at all this wreckage, so many houses wrecked, and all of a sudden my brother comes out of a house that was really torn down like it was his house, which confused me because remember, I'm 16 and he's like almost 4 years younger than me, so obviously he did not have a freaking house. And it's like he had a girlfriend or whatever he had and a kid. It was very strange, but you know, he had a girlfriend and a kid when this happened because I was talking to him on the phone in the middle of the hurricane. And it's like there's just so many things like that in the dream, and I know I'm at the part of the dream now where I'm going to be so happy once I can go outside and look through the trees and see the green and see the sunlight and just know that I'm going to be okay being in the sunlight, because it's not safe for me to be out in the sun too long with all the medication I'm on right now. So I know I'm not to that part in the dream yet, but I'm gonna get there. But so I know for a fact this is like over a decade worth of stuff that I dreamed of when I was 16. But it also makes me feel it's not coincidence anything that I've been through up to now, especially being here and talking about it. Like, I would have never said this story out where I know other people can hear it. But, I mean, I'm here saying it now. Um, but I think I'm bringing this up for a reason right now, honestly, because I'm feeling the emotions, like I said. If I can feel that happy about seeing the green on leaves and sunlight, just walking, that had to have meant not just my health, but something else was taken away to make it to where understanding the teeny tiniest thing in nature was so freaking beautiful, and I should appreciate it. And that's really making me think of right now how we're all so closed off from each other. This happened because of the internet for me. I wouldn't be here without that very first time I was introduced to the internet. And now I'm back on it in a completely different way. But this also makes me feel, I'm meant to be sitting here right now saying this, that we are all going to get through this, and it's going to be so beautiful. Because that emotion that I felt is almost like just awe, almost. Like that feeling that you can't describe it with words. It's like just being taken by life, which I think as a human race, would be really beautiful for us to reach. But I saw it though. So it's possible. And that wasn't even the end of the dream. So hopefully that gives us something bright to look forward to if it's going to keep unraveling like it's been for me. And this, I'm realizing, is so opposite of what I've been doing in tarot. Oh my god. My astrology is bipolar compared to my tarot. See, I didn't even know what YouTube was when I met him. He literally introduced me to everything internet. He's the one that helped me get an email. I'm talking about my boyfriend. He's the one that told me what Facebook was and showed me how to get a Facebook. Like, I didn't even have a cell phone. Like, all of this stuff, even though he was younger than me, he's like a year and a half younger than me. He was the one showing me, like, all of these things because I was so closed off in a bubble that was not any kind of part of that. Even though I know it had been out since I was at least 12 or 13. Those chat rooms were around then, that kind of noise. I actually heard that noise when I was young, so I know for a fact that the internet came into play when I was young, but I was just not an actual part of it until I actually met him and he full on threw me into it. But, so I always had that alone feeling until I met him, and then I felt like there was like this whole new world, which when I was a little kid and saw that in theaters, I actually cried and said Jasmine was beautiful while she was singing A Whole New World and made people cry that were grown teenagers. I think that's one of the if only there could be memes back then. There wasn't enough internet for memes when I don't even know if it was out doing anything like that at that time. There were still cell phones attached to cars. I'm sitting here like everyone's probably like, how the? It's like my birth. It's like, yeah, if you guys didn't know how old I was and hadn't done the math by now, you're pretty much getting an idea now. But this, all of this is like just showing just how much why for me I know just deep in my soul that everything in my life has happened for a reason and why I can believe it so strongly. And that's why I feel everyone's unique natures are so important, because if any point of that would have been different, if any different road would have been taken, I would not be sitting right here saying this any point in my life. So, I didn't have one. I'm telling you, I did not get, like, I wasn't with it. I'm sorry. Like, my life did not allow for me to be with it, even though I was around people that were with it. My life just did not allow for that. So I was, like, kept in a very certain type of dark bubble until I was completely burst out of it. And until I actually, I mean, I've been out here about maybe 7.5 years now. But it's like the way that happened in that meeting was literally a pinnacle of my life changing. Like, that moment right there just was like the whole life change, and every decision I made after that was just like to write here. And I went through a lot of really just, I don't even know, man. Like, yeah, I've been told to write books, even by therapists. Um, that's saying something right there. If you have therapists tell you, like, you should write a book or a trilogy or whatever, or series, I don't even know. Like, they could, because at first they would say a book and be like, wait, you need more than just one book. And I'm like, you guys planning to, like, write this for me? Because I don't feel like sitting down and doing this. But, the things that happen, and I'm realizing, like, yes, I love writing, I love poetry, I love creative writing, but when I'm sitting down and trying to force myself to do something like it would take to write a book, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. Even though I know I'm supposed to share the stories, and then all of a sudden I try to make YouTube videos, and I'm like, man, this just drains me, man. It's like, I want to do this for people, but this is so draining and it takes so much time. I hate editing. Oh my god. And then I found out about being, like, it clicked. You know, go be live. I watch Twitch all the time because, like I said, my boyfriend shows me everything on the internet. But it's like, I knew about Twitch already, and I watched games on it with him for years. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I could be live and just talk. I wouldn't have to write anything, and I wouldn't have to edit anything. And now here I am, and I'm pretty sure eventually, since it's kind of here, I will probably talk about more deeper things that have happened. I feel like I probably should be kind of ease people into that in case, and probably put trigger warning on my stuff if I'm going to talk about it. So, like, I have to kind of ease into that for people. But I definitely um, I definitely feel once I get to those places, it's going to be something that helps people, because knowing you can connect to people's things they've been through and not feel so alone really helps us in our process, in our steps with going through healing. And I love doing that for people. I mean, I'm not going to say anyone's names that have talked to me personally, but it's like I really do like helping people on that level, and I don't mind actually sharing it, but I also have, like I said, I do listen sometimes. I'm not supposed to talk about it yet, which is why I've been saying things the way I've been saying it. But eventually I know it's going to get to that place where I am saying it, and it's something I'm supposed to do, because just writing it never felt like what was supposed to happen with it. And I know now it's because I have to be able to express the emotion as I'm going through it. It's like the emotion's meant to be heard, which is a very weird thing, because in the day and age we live in, like, hearing emotions is kind of like, what is wrong with you? You need to be institutionalized because you have emotions. Okay, and that's probably like another reason. But it's clearing that up, because people have this thing where if you cry or you show a certain type of thing and more than your immediate surroundings see it, oh, like, don't even get started with it being on the internet. Oh man, all the people that have any kind of emotion shown on the internet, it's always some kind of negative light. Either that or it's a very pitying light. And that's the only way it can be shown. It's like emotions aren't shown as a strength unless it's in a meme where you can still be comfortable with it making fun of having strength in the emotion. But literally putting the emotion out is really looked at as a weak thing, when in fact it's very powerful to express these openly. It's very powerful to allow yourself to feel free enough to work through your things openly and feel no shame for it. And there are some very brave people that do it through their music, that do it through the books they write, that do it through their poetry. And these people are what started things for others because they let their gifts out and they didn't try to make it fit in with other people. There's a lot of trust that comes with that. I'm still learning the trust, by the way. Like I said, I don't want you guys to be like hearing all these things that I'm saying and being like, oh, hell yeah, like she's definitely gonna be able to fix all my shit. Guys, I'm human too. I have my freaking Chiron in exponentially healing, but I'm bad at it myself, okay? It's gonna take me a bit, and I'm trying to get there really hard. And you guys have to realize when I talk to you guys and say certain things, I do sit with myself after, like pick a cards and collective readings and everything, and I'll be sitting there thinking to myself, like, yeah, I know you guys were fucking talking to me too. Like, it's like that thing, the awareness of understanding is a lot of growth. I mean, first step for everything, and I've told you guys that, is just being aware of it, being like, that's another thing with learning these different things over here. I think that's why it kind of got into this topic. When you're learning all about yourself, like I've said, and you're learning your strengths and your weaknesses, whether it's through astrology, whether it's through tarot, numerology, other types of spirituality, or however you feel, whether it's science, however you are pulling yourself into understanding more about yourself, psychology, just anything of those natures, or vast other ones I couldn't remember. All of these will only work for you if you trust yourself enough to be honest with yourself, so you can be actually aware that you're even not using or using the things you've been given, or you don't know about the things you've been given, and you're being honest with yourself. It's like you need to have steps towards something where you have an awareness of yourself. And that's why, like, when I do certain things, I can sit after and know, yeah, I need to do that because I'm aware of what I've been doing, and I know that it's for my best interest if I do these things. It's not like when I'm telling you guys things, like, stuff doesn't apply to me. I'm gonna be completely upfront with you guys. There's even times when I'm doing readings, I'll even say, I know for a fact they're yelling at me right now, because no one is perfect. And even these people that do these readings, and all they do is put this energy like it's your energy, instead of realizing, like, hey, they have stuff too. It's like they don't even really, I mean, some people aren't comfortable with it. That's fine. I'm not pushing anyone to talk about their stuff. Okay? Not everyone's thing is meant to be come out and just talk about it like it's everybody's business, even though I tried my whole life to make sure it was no one's business. But some people, having their private life is exactly what they're supposed to do, because they have to have a separate energy they have outwards. Like, everyone's stuff is different. But at the same time, you have to have that honesty with yourself of what actually you're supposed to be doing and what actually makes you happy. Because if you're someone that's throwing all your shit out just because other people are, and it's something that actually you're supposed to be having your stuff to yourself because that's how you heal. Literally, my way of healing is doing this. This is how I'm supposed to heal. Okay? Like, this isn't everyone's way of healing. Some people can write their songs, like I said earlier, or poetry. some people, they just need to be able to be like a counselor, so they can be the one that's very intimate in helping someone in that sense, like go through certain things because they understand it, to heal their wounds and understand themselves. Like there are so many scales of things and everything is so needed. And I think that's why, going back to this thing, I think that started this rant is that people should not be putting down other people's gifts, and that's why people don't feel what they have is special, because they feel it needs to fit a mold. And gifts don't go in molds. Healing doesn't go in molds. Like, this is why I feel this energy is so important with Aquarius coming in, and why I've been talking about like needing to be your actual energy, is because we've been in Capricorn where everything was supposed to be a mold. It was supposed to be this restriction and structure and just fit into this. And we've been doing it so long that once we move into this new energy, if we haven't been working at it, like those have been pulled to work at it, if we haven't been working at it, it's going to hit us so hard. Because like that freaking Ace of Cups that came out, it's going to be a painful ass rebirth of you having to push yourself out of your own birth canal, guys. Like, for real, like, it's going to be a huge rude awakening. And even though it feels really hard right now, if it's feeling hard right now, if you're already starting to do stuff, just know you're doing your future self a huge ass favor. Because it's not going to be like, oh shit, it's like you gotta completely break out like right after. Like, you're doing yourself a huge favor right now. Which I think is why everything seems so dire in my readings. It makes me laugh because I'm sitting here able to talk about it. It's just weird. It's feeling kind of like a podcast, guys. It's just turning into a random podcast. I'm just going with energies for now, guys. I am not fighting it. I encourage you guys to free flow with what pulls you along and allows you to be expressive. I really encourage it. And for anyone that sits through this whole thing and it helps in any which way, I'm happy about that, even if I've kind of made a fool of myself in some parts of it, probably, that I don't remember. But, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of fun. Just being able to express without, and it's weird, I can say without actually feeling a repercussion, which is weird, which I know all we're feeling right now is repercussions. What the hell am I on, right? But literally all my life has felt like if I say anything, there is going to be very harsh repercussions. And this is so therapeutic because it's like, it's not only that one person that could possibly hear this that would make me in my past feel like there would be repercussions, but so many more people can hear it, and it's almost like, you know what, it's fine. It's actually fine. And I don't have to hide behind a pen name, because every time I was told to write a book, I was like, there's no way I can write a book with my name on it. There's no way I'm going to tell my story with my name on it. I don't want people knowing. And then it's like, for some reason, doing this is right. You do you, boo. That's why I was laughing. I'm telling you, everyone is so free to have their own thing, and I think that's oh my gosh, Okay, if anything, seeing you do that and you're such a sweetheart, I am. Oh, that was so freaking beautiful. That's probably the highlight of my day, guys. I'm sorry. Just sweet Anna was. That was so feisty. I loved it. I freaking love you. Oh my gosh. Freaking like that hook. Oh, you made me cry from some laughter, girl. That was good. I am not even. That was beautiful. Thank you. But yeah, um, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. It's very freeing though. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if it's something you want to do, I will completely encourage it. But only if it's something you want to do. Like, if it's not your thing, I am in no way saying, like, do this. But yeah, it's like very oddly comfortable. Oh, and also, guys, ooh, I'm excited. I forgot to tell you guys something. Yeah, I know I'm like completely off base here. I just kind of ran off with something. But, because of, I almost called it Black Monday. Because of Cyber Monday, I got a new camera. So I'm excited because it was a good deal. And, so I should be getting that by this weekend. So on Monday, I really want your guys' feedback because I'm really hoping that like all the stuff I researched is as good as what it said because you guys are really going to be able to see my crystals a whole lot better. So you get to see all like the pretties and the things I feel like don't show up well enough on the videos. And plus you'll be able to see the art and everything better too. So I'm like really excited and I'm hoping it is as good as I think it's going to be and they said it was going to be. And plus, I would be able to rearrange everything differently, possibly have more space. There are definitely going to be more crystals because I got myself some Christmas presents. But yeah, so I'll be able to show you guys those. I'm excited. But so more pretties and just I know that was a completely random tandem side note tangent thing I just kind of went on over there. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And but yeah, it's I don't know, just I'm feeling even though yeah, I got shit going on. Everyone knows I have shit going on. I broke down last week. But even though there's a lot of shit literally in the air and my other readings love the word shit or asshat or whatever. Like they're just in love with those readings, those words in the readings right now for some reason. Just the energies, I guess. But just me talking about stuff, like I'm really seeing also the beauty in other certain things, and like getting excited about little things is so important right now because um, it might not seem that important to other people, but to you, if you get like a very giddy excitement out of something, like allow it for yourself a little bit, especially if you've been feeling very down and like, completely drained or like just not well. Allow yourself to do something that makes you completely giddy. Just allow it, even if it's like for a little bit, that it'll be like this brief like moment. Just allow yourself a little bit of it to help that boost because it's like, for some reason, it's like the emotions thing, showing like really giddy pleasure or happiness or whatever, is also really seen as like being like conceited and full of yourself and like all this stuff on the internet. Like, why is being excited a bad thing? Like, I do not understand why being excited is a bad thing. It's turned into like, if you're very excited about something that like you're doing or you're getting for yourself or whatever, it's like, unless you're saying it's for other people, then you're very conceited and selfish. It's like you can't be happy you did something for yourself. And good job, Ruby. Yes, because I know someone. I'm not talking about me though, or my boyfriend, but I know someone that that got the better of yesterday, and I'm really glad I wasn't around to hear it. I was told about it, but yeah, someone definitely got that yesterday. Um, and I was kind of shocked by it because I was in, like, even though I was like tarot reading like that, that wasn't necessarily my mood. Honestly, like, my mood was very chill yesterday. My reading was not a reflection of my mood. My mood was more like what happened at the end when I announced my winner. That was my mood for the day, guys. It was not anything like that. Telling you, my reading energy is so different from just me energy. But it's like, I feel like there's so many things that kind of need like a revolution of its own on the internet, and I think that's kind of the way to help things, especially since we're all stuck on the internet. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it needs to become a little bit more pleasant. Because we are kind of like, for a lot of us, this is what we're doing. Okay, like, we're just at home trying to have some kind of interaction. And it's like, if it's not pleasant, it's like, well, fuck, that's what I'm taking away from it. We all know the media isn't pleasant right now. It's like, there's so many things where we can take in a lot of unpleasant stuff. And it kind of needs to change a little bit, and that's why we're kind of going down this, like, kind of health hole, like, I'm health hole kind of thing. But, damn, Anna, you getting sassy today. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this. I love it. Sassy Anna needs to stay. It's adorable, but seriously feisty. She's definitely in that queen energy. But, yeah, nice and spicy. I like it. I'm enjoying the spice. It kind of fits it. You're picking up my spice for today. I'm like off in little Neptune land, and you're picking up my spice. We're trading places a little bit today. I gotta ask you guys, what have you been grateful for lately? Like, no joke. Like, do you ever just kind of like sit with yourself a little bit and start going through your head and looking around and really looking at the stuff you're grateful for? Like, if you're honest with yourself, like, just kind of sitting there. It's like, for some reason, saying that sounds like it should be a weird thing to do. And I think that's another kind of social norm thing too, because it's like, it's literally put out, you should do this. It's like, almost like it's not something we naturally are taught to do. So it's like a forced thing, even though it's kind of innate in us, believe it or not. Because, yeah, because that's what I mean, Phantom. Because with the whole thing is like if you're sitting there being grateful for some reason, that's another conceited thing if you think about it with different ideas, like ideologies. It's like you're sitting there being grateful for something, and then all of a sudden you automatically feel, but that means, I have this and someone else doesn't have this, and I should be made to feel guilty, because it's almost like I'm bragging when someone has it worse than me. It's like there's this weird undertone to pretty much everything that brings happiness or release or healing in the now, to be honest with you. It's kind of the now is to hide all these things, like it's forbidden. But it's like there's always like an undertone almost that we are so conceited when we express anything that kind of errs on the side of joy, anything that would help us realistically, not superficially. And it's like, don't, it's even like bragging about the things you're grateful for is kind of a thing, believe it or not. It's like you can't just be grateful for something. It's like sometimes when you're grateful for stuff, it's like you're bragging. It's like there's so many mixed things, even though gratitude is like one of the highest forms, just like love. It's like they're so high up there, even though even love is looked at like it's a weakness. Everything is very much flip-flopped. And I mean, to me, it's very visible. This is something I sit there and think about, like just kind of how flip-flopped it is, to be honest with you. But I feel like a lot of people just take so many things as being normal, and I had my normal flipped upside down on me because I thought the most messed up thing was normal because of what I grew up in, and when I had the lenses broken that it wasn't, it was like it was the weirdest thing. So it is very easy for me to be able to look at broader perspectives because an entire world was broken. It wasn't like a piece of life, it was like an entire life was broken to be told it wasn't normal. And that's like a really, you don't, once something's broken like that, it's not like you can put anything back together because it's an entire world. Like it's a literal world, like it's literally all you know, period. And you're told that it's not okay for that to happen. It's very weird. And then you start realizing just how weird a lot of your experiences are and how either inhumane or miraculous it can go spectrum to spectrum, because some people go through a lot of like miraculous stuff and that's all they experience, and then it's like when they see other things. That's why I think perspective is so important, because what if people really are just blessed going throughout their life and they don't understand hardship? In a way, blessings also a curse, because if they do come across hardship, where have they learned to have the energy to withstand something that's not a complete, like, good? I mean, everything is a blessing in my eyes, but something that completely didn't flow in a way and, like, never had friction. Like, there's always a balance to energies here. So there's always something that is gained to balance out a loss. At least how I feel about it, like I said. But You guys are so cute. You guys just put, like, I mean, I've had a kind of dumb smile on my face, I'm not gonna lie, this whole time. But that put a really dumb smile on my face. See, I love that so much. See, I want that kind of beauty around. And I know that's like in this moment, I'm going to say this. In this moment, it seems like I'm being too idealistic. But there's no one that absolutely knows the future. So maybe in the future, right now, I'm being realistic. That's honestly, I think, the best way to look at it. Because I really feel we can all get there. I mean, it starts small and then it gets there. It just has to start somewhere. There needs to be a seed somewhere where it can grow, and that's all it is. There needs to be a seed so it can grow. I mean, if it's never planted, then it can never grow, right? But I feel like we can definitely move in that direction. I mean, you guys are already showing that there's multiple people that feel that way. Why can't there be even more? I just love all you guys so much. Because to be honest, I wouldn't be able to do this either if you weren't here. And I know that's like something a lot of people say, but I feel like eventually it's taken for granted. And I think it's really good that there's people that are actually starting to come out that don't take it for granted. Because it really needs to be seen that way. And I think it's being turned that way because we've started to see internet connections as so much more. Because back when I met my boyfriend, it was seen as ridiculous to have an online boyfriend or go meet someone that was online. Now it's very commonplace. Like, it's so, like, no one even thinks of it if you're gonna, like, travel to Italy to go meet someone that you met on the internet. Like, there's shows made about it, like, coming from different countries. Like, it's so commonplace. And if things can, like, progress like that so rapidly, like, I don't see why something else starting out, like, small, because I know there's other people that feel this way too. Something starting out small can just grow into that. It just needs to be nurtured, is all it is. It's like the only reason things don't grow is if it's not nurtured. And you can choose what you nurture, obviously. People have been nurturing other things. But, like, obviously, Nightbot wanted to be able to say something in chat too. It's feeling grateful. But, who's to say that we cannot actually start doing the same thing and nurturing, like, what we consider beauty and individuality, and then actually celebrating it, being happy about it, not only for other people but for ourselves too, and it not being a selfish thing to be happy for yourself. Like, just getting to the place where actually having fun, loving your life, being actually happy instead of competing over who has, like, the worst everything. Like, no competition, just, like, be freaking happy. Like, we can get there. I mean, a lot of people want to get there. What's to stop people from actually start, getting the ball rolling? It's just like something needs to have some foundation somewhere for it to start, and then it can go. It has to have like an honest one. It has to have like a real one. It can't be like it's just there for supporting only one type of happiness. It needs to just be happiness and not valuing one happiness over the other and letting that be as individual as our like person. Freaking Nightbot, dang. But a lot of us already are there and we don't know it, and that's why the internet's becoming so prevalent. And eventually what's going to happen is more people are going to understand that it's actually more underlying in us to want these kind of things than what's been stuck on people for so long. And people are going to crave that more. And that's why certain things aren't going to work out and certain things are going to change and die out and all this other stuff with certain like media or whatever. But at the same time, it's going to be because there's going to be more authentic ways of like being expressive, and like the communication is going to be more readily available. It's going to be like, why wouldn't you want to be honest with your stuff? Like, we're tired of people like lying with their stuff. We're over it. We don't want no more mold fitters. We want people to just express, and you can't fully express yourself without being completely honest and just saying it, or singing, writing, whatever. However it comes out, guys. You can dance it out too. Dude, interpretation through dance is freaking gorgeous. I know that's a freaking random way to go, but I know there have been a lot of readings where I've talked about dance, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that the body, like the human form, is art. Look at what it can do, guys. And I think a lot of us kind of fall away from understanding that we are walking art pieces. And even me saying that right now, like, I know how I treat my own body, and it's like not the best. And I was even thinking about that today. And it was in the sense of gratitude, because I was literally grateful that with everything that happened to me, even though that thing happened where I almost died at the beginning of the year, I was grateful that I have not gotten sick this year, because I literally have no immune system to protect me. So it's like it went right back to square one, where it's like, yeah, like this is going on, but I am so grateful because, you know, my body, even though I haven't treated it the best, still was my shield. And in a way, that's art, it's protection. And it's like it's pretty much your energy's way of expressing love. I feel when you're protected from things like that. That's like a very random side note. But, the promotion. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Bae, you are awesome. But, yeah, see, I love that. I love seeing, like, people, even though it's, like, the sappy ones, like, seeing the people, like, actually do that one thing they, like, really, really love and being excited about it. Like, it puts a smile on my face. I am happy about it. And a lot of times I'm looked at like I'm a big goof because I do that. And I'm just kind of like, well, it makes me happy. And I realize it's not a common thing, I guess. Like, get very, like, just happy for other things being happy. But, I feel like that's kind of the way to go, honestly. Is what this energy is trying to kind of push us into. And no, it's not only the 3 gram water trine talking, okay? Like, I know they're sitting on me, but it's not just them making me sappy. This is something I felt for a long time before they decided to move into my life this year. But this is something I've felt for a really long time, and I didn't honestly understand how to explain it to people without people looking at me like I had three heads, because it was so against what people considered strength or like something you should want to attain or anything like that. Like, there's this thing that is almost a meme nowadays where John, I believe was it John Lennon? I can't, I don't want to say the wrong person, but um, basically it's like being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And happy is the answer. And it's kind of like, some people find it beautiful and some people find it very meme and kind of like tear it down. And it all kind of comes down to insecurities. Because I'm pretty sure at some point with everything we go through in life, we're both people. Because we go through things that make us be more cynical, and we go through things that make us be more idealistic. But I really feel like we can get to a place where people can see the actual strength in expressing emotions and not being robots. Even though we're going into the age of Aquarius, maybe we can learn to not be so robotic and so futuristic that we feel like, the droids where no one has emotions and they're able just to go around, and that's why it's so dangerous, because they can become killing machines because they have no emotion, no remorse. So it's like, instead of living by robotic laws, it's almost like we start to realize that there's so much power in being vulnerable and having the emotions and sharing them and creating the communities that come from the emotions. But I honestly don't know if I just want to stop this, because I don't know what I'm going to call this. This went from Astro Chat into, I don't know. I mean, okay, look, I have it under the freaking category of talk show and podcast. I didn't know what category to put this under. I mean, so I don't even know what to name this. It started as a little bit of Astro Chat and some learning, and it turned into like some um, I don't even know. It's like a mix. I'm just gonna call it some random tids. I'm gonna call it tidbits. I ain't gonna call it tids. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna call it random tidbits. But go with the flow show. Oh my god, that so goes with the Cosmic Mermaid theme, Ruby. Oh my god, that's hysterical. Therapy. My gosh. Yeah, we're just gonna call myself Go With The Flow Therapy. I'm just gonna create a therapy channel. You get tarot therapy, astrology therapy, numerology therapy, and just random therapy sessions for when all of a sudden it just happens. And it's through nothing else at all besides, just chatting. But oh my goodness. But yeah, I feel like I've been just chatting enough. My lips are just chapped. And I'm gonna go ahead and call it a thing here. I'll be back Monday. and very excited with new things, like a little kid probably. Hopefully this camera is like really awesome because I'll be a very excited little kid. But do something for your little kid, your inner little being today, and tomorrow and the next day. Why should you stop? Just do some good stuff for you. And take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.